Welcome to Chamber Exchange, the TV show, our second segment, brought to you by Bank Hometown and St. Vincent Hospital. Really pleased to have with us in our second segment, Ron Waddell, who's the co-founder and executive director of Legendary Legacies. Ron, welcome.
Thank you, Tim. Good to be here.
Good. So for our viewers, maybe you could give a little overview about Legendary Legacies and what kind of prompted you to be the co-founder.
Sure. So Legendary Legacies is at the macro level, a public safety organization. What we're working with are those that are at the highest risk of being impacted by community violence, so gun or knife violence, and we're supporting those who are returning from incarceration. Three main reasons why I became a co-founder of this. One, from when I was younger, I had a father who was in and out of incarceration. And then later in life, I had a friend who was shot and killed when he was 22 years old. And then lastly, I was working for Straight Ahead Ministries. A grant ended and there was an opportunity to continue doing the work. And so Legendary Legacies was born in 2018.
Right. So I mean, from what you've described, it sounds like, you work closely with perhaps the police department and others in terms of trying to identify some of the individuals who may be at risk.
Very much so. Some of our best partners are Lou Evangelitis up at the Worcester House of Correction. We have teams that are meeting with individuals before they come out, preparing plans for reentry, as well as Police Chief Saucier, the Worcester Police. They really understand the work that we're doing and that we are working in tandem. We're not against it, it's in parallel. We both want safe communities, and the way that we go about it is working on transformation, providing skills to the men that are ready to be transformed, and they have their role as a police department. And so we really work in tandem and parallel to make sure that we have safe community.
Right, and just kind of based upon kind of what motivated you to start it, I mean, there's sometimes in a cynical world where it seems like we get inundated with bad news, you can break cycles of violence and poverty. It's not easy. It's hard work, but it's kind of staying engaged, kind of building trust and confidence with people, letting them know that there are alternative, constructive pathways.
100%. So when we think about working with the young men and the men that we work with, just like the previous segment, Eileen, I think about it as an investment. And a lot of times we're investing in these individuals for a period of time for a return that we may not see in the short term. And so that takes time. And you just nailed it on the head. It's the consistency. She talked about monitoring your budget. The same thing here, if we make that analogous, it's staying in touch, continuously supporting them, and providing a role model and supports. And so most of our staff have lived experience and have successfully re-entered and rehabilitated. And so they provide hope personified for a lot of the men we're working with.
Right. And, from an employer, the Chamber, 2,100 members, employers, every day we hear from our member businesses, regardless of the size of the company or the sector, access for talent, needing employees. And part of our conversation back is you've got to look, maybe beyond non-traditional ways and think of, reaching out to maybe groups or individuals that you maybe didn't in the past. And that's part of, I think, what you do too, right? You're working with them on employment paths and trying to get them employed. 100%.
So when we think about investing in supporting these men that we work with, we do it from a multiple standpoint. So we're looking at it economically, physically, financially, spiritually, and emotionally. And so economically is where that comes in. And at Legendary Legacies, we have a workforce development program that really is giving these individuals the base level skills, entry level skills. When I've talked to employers, they say, hey, entry level, I'm not looking for a great employee. I just don't want a bad employee, right? Can they show up, do what's asked? The
world belongs to those that show up.
And so these are two very different cultures, a carceral system where you are essentially being directed, told what to do, where to go, and then now the autonomy coming into an employer position, making that shift, there's some work that needs to be done. And so we support them with cognitive exercises to do that. Because we know this, even for our broader community, not only does it help them, but it helps us be safer. National data says that a non-fatal shooting will cost, before medical cost, around $30,000. And so if we can help interrupt one of those, we're saving. Again, incarceration costs us as residents of the Commonwealth between $130,000 to $170,000 annually per inmate. And so investing in rehabilitating and getting them back into the workforce so that they're now contributing to the tax base instead of being a drain on the tax base, it's not just a good moral, it's also good fiscal decisions for us to make.
And the other piece is, our juvenile court system and certainly, our courts and kind of corrections, it's aimed at, rehabilitation, right? The theory and the practice is behind that. But there's also an element, I was watching an interview with Richard Reeves, who was talking about the crisis among young men and how, kind of, again, the impact of social media, depression, mental health, the antisocial behavior and activities. Some of that is also these external forces.
Oh, yeah.
And then we know from a scientific point of view, I remember Alex Sakara, who's the headmaster at St. John's, giving a talk about the brain development
100%.
of young men is not complete until like 26 years old, right? So there's opportunities to kind of engage and transform and kind of mesh with that growth, right?
100%. And so I think about why we focus on not just those with lived experience being on staff, because the work that we've worked through is what's required for us to be able to help someone else who hasn't, right? You can't lead someone somewhere that you haven't been. Mm-hmm. And so we think about the emotional work, the ability to increase your emotional IQ within the workplace. And a lot of us as males, we're getting better, but society doesn't really help us tap into those things, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then, as you mentioned, a lot of the external factors now, I'm learning from my peers. And so who is there to help me realize there is a different option? There's another way to do it. And that is the core of our work. And so we're measuring those things to be able to speak to the impact. We just put our first impact report out. It's on our website. Folks can check that out to see some of the work that we're doing.
And the website is legendlegacy.org.
That's right. That's right. Someone has Legendary Legacies hostage and I'm not paying for it.
Okay. So legendlegacy.org. But clearly in an environment with, some of the things that are happening in Washington and some of the budgetary pressures, as a nonprofit leader, you've got to work to kind of fund that work.
Oh, I'll tell you what. So we get into nonprofit work, as you know, not for money. And so we know it's always challenging, but it's increasingly challenging now. One of the things I do appreciate, though, about Worcester is that it's a community that can come together and help each other think about strategic ways that we may be able to partner or collaborate to get through challenging times, just like with COVID came, and you see that happening now. We are also connected with the national level. I'm in a leadership academy at the University of Chicago for community violence intervention. Also part of a leadership academy at Common Justice in New York. And so making national connections as well to see how folks are doing this in other cities so that we here in Worcester are doing things that are at the cutting edge as well. Right.
So we mentioned the website, legendlegacy.org. But in terms of, if someone's out there has questions, wants to learn more, maybe as a family member, somebody that's kind of in a challenging situation or in transition, they can go on the website and talk to you that way?
100%. I just was talking to a community member just yesterday who reached out and said, hey, I have someone that I think could be a good candidate for your program. And I directed him, just like I would the listeners here, right to our website. There's a referral form, some pretty easy form to fill out, and you'll get a call back in 24 to 48 hours from our coordinator to begin that intake process.
These days, you've got your hands full in life. That's why we help you bank simply and securely with tools like Face ID and Touch ID. It's why we make it easy to make purchases on the go and get cash back while you're at it. Why we help you quickly deposit checks wherever you are. And it's why we lend a hand with sending and receiving money right from your phone. So even when you're on the move, you can manage your finances. Bank Hometown. Unlock your potential.